Imagine standing in a room full of noise. Everyone is talking, everyone is shy and is trying to be heard, and yet no one is truly listening. That is the world we live in today, a world where words fly faster than actions, where people rush to prove themselves with noise instead of discipline. But let me ask you, have you ever noticed the person who stays silent, the one who doesn't rush to speak, who doesn't argue to be seen, who doesn't waste energy proving a point? That person is often the one who sees the most, learns the most, and grows the most. Because silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is in silence that patience is built, clarity is found, and actions gain power. The world may celebrate noise, but true greatness is forged in the quiet moments when no one is watching. If you can embrace silence, if you can master the discipline of not reacting, not chasing, not proving, you will discover that everything you seek will come naturally. Today, I want to show you why staying silent is one of the most powerful choices you can ever make and how it can transform your entire life. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, for shyness, or for lack of confidence, but in reality, silence is one of the strongest tools a person can hold. It is a power that does not need to be announced, it does not need to be explained, it does not need to be proven. When you stay silent, you give yourself the ability to see things others miss, to hear things others ignore, and to understand things others cannot grasp. Most people in this world are in a constant race to speak, to prove, to argue, to show how much they know, but in that race, they forget the strength that comes from stillness. Silence is not about holding back words, it is about holding back the need to react. And that restraint, that patience, is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. When you stay silent, you force yourself to listen. Listening is not just about hearing words, it is about feeling the energy in the room, catching the emotions hidden behind the tone of voice, and reading the movements that words can never explain. Most people listen to reply, but when you stay silent, you listen to understand. That understanding becomes your weapon. You know what others are thinking, what they fear, what they hide. You are not rushing to prove yourself, so you see everything more clearly. Silence gives you the advantage of perspective, and perspective is the foundation of power. Think about it. When someone argues with you, what happens if you shout back? You are both in the same energy, both in chaos, both in noise. But when you stay silent, their noise exposes them while you remain in control. You are not dragged into the fire. You are the one holding the match while they burn themselves out. Silence keeps you from wasting energy on battles that do not deserve your presence. It saves your strength for the moments that actually matter. That is not about being louder. It is about being sharper, wiser, and calmer than the noise around you. Silence also builds patience. In a world that is addicted to speed, where everyone wants instant results, silence teaches you how to wait. It teaches you how to control your emotions when you want to rush. It reminds you that the loudest person in the room is not always the smartest, and the fastest answer is not always the right one. When you can sit in silence, you are no longer controlled by impulses. You become intentional. You make choices with clarity, not with panic. That patience allows you to outlast everyone else, because while they burn out chasing quick wins, you're still standing, still focused, still strong. Silence is also the space where discipline is built. Think of the countless hours when nobody is watching, when the world is asleep and it is just you and your work. There is no cheering, no applause, no recognition, only silence. That silence is where you grow. That is where you train, where you study, where you prepare. The outside world may not see it, but silence is where greatness is shaped. Every champion, every master, every creator spends more time in silence than in the spotlight. They know the spotlight is temporary, but the discipline built in silence lasts forever. Another layer of silence is that it prevents you from revealing too much. Too many people talk about their dreams, their plans, but words don't build empires. Actions do. The more you speak, the more you give others the chance to doubt you, to discourage you, to steal your ideas. Silence protects you. It keeps your energy locked in. It keeps your focus sharp, and it allows you to execute without interference. When the time comes, your work will reveal everything that needs to be known, and it will be louder than any promise you could ever speak. There's also strength in silence when it comes to emotions. Anyone can explode in anger. Anyone can defend themselves with words. Anyone can rush to prove a point. But it takes real strength to hold back. It takes real strength to stand there calm, steady, and collected while the storm rages around you. That is not weakness. That is ultimate control. If you cannot control your tongue, you cannot control your mind. If you cannot control your mind, you cannot control your life. Silence is the practice of mastery over yourself. And when you master yourself, nothing outside can break you. The truth is, silence is misunderstood because the world celebrates noise. Social media celebrates constant talking, endless opinions, endless debates. But silence doesn't care for attention. Silence is not desperate to be seen. Silence is not desperate to be liked. Silence doesn't chase validation. It just exists, steady, grounded, unshaken. That is why silence is strength. Because when you are silent, you are not performing for others. You are building for yourself. You are not fighting to be heard. You are preparing to be undeniable. In silence, you discover that you do not need to react to everything. You do not need to explain yourself to everyone. You do not need to waste energy proving who you are. You already know. And because you know, you can walk with confidence, with calmness, and with focus. That is the strength silence gives you. It strips away the need for approval, the need for noise, the need for reaction. It leaves you with pure power, the kind that does not need to shout, the kind that is felt without a single word. Discipline in silence is one of the purest forms of control a person can ever develop. It is the ability to hold yourself steady when everything around you is trying to push you into reaction. Most people believe discipline is about routines, rules, or hard work, but true discipline begins with the control of your inner world. Silence is the training ground for that control. It demands that you do not always act on your impulses, that you do not always respond to every challenge, and that you do not always give in to the temptation of noise. When you choose silence, You are choosing mastery over yourself. The world is full of distractions. Every second, something is trying to pull your attention, provoke your emotions, or disturb your focus. In that chaos, most people feel the need to constantly engage, constantly respond, constantly show that they are present. But the disciplined ones understand that silence is not absence. Silence is presence at a higher level. It means you are aware, you are observing, you are processing, and you are conserving your energy for the right moment. That restraint is what builds discipline, because it is easy to get caught in the noise, but it takes strength to stay still and wait. Discipline and silence is not about avoiding challenges. It is about choosing your battles with intelligence. There are countless moments in life where someone will test you, where a situation will tempt you to prove yourself through words or quick reactions. But discipline is knowing that not every situation deserves your response. The undisciplined rush into every fight. They waste their strength. They scatter their focus. The disciplined stay silent, not because they are afraid, but because they understand the value of their energy. They know silence does not mean weakness. It means conservation. They are saving their fire for when it truly matters. Silence also teaches patience, which is a cornerstone of discipline. In silence, you learn to sit with discomfort, to resist the urge to rush, to allow things to unfold naturally. This patience trains your mind to be calm under pressure. When the world is screaming at you to hurry, to react, to move without thinking, discipline in silence allows you to pause. That pause is powerful. In that pause, you see the bigger picture, you see the angles, you see the consequences that others overlook in their rush. You move with intention instead of impulse. That is the kind of discipline that separates the average from the great. When you live with discipline in silence, you start to realize that noise is often a trap. People who lack control fill every space with words because they fear being overlooked. They argue because they fear being wrong. They make promises because they fear being doubted. But all of this noise is weakness disguised as confidence. Silence exposes the truth. Silence is discipline because it forces you to accept that you do not need to prove yourself with noise. You prove yourself with results, and those results are born in the quiet hours when nobody is watching. When the world is asleep, when it is just you and your craft. That is discipline in its purest form, the discipline of showing up consistently without needing recognition. Another reason silence breeds discipline is that it sharpens focus. When you remove unnecessary words, unnecessary reactions, unnecessary movements, your mind becomes clearer. You no longer waste time explaining yourself to people who do not matter. You no longer drain your energy arguing with those who cannot understand your vision. You stay locked in. You keep your discipline aligned with your purpose. That kind of focus is impossible when you are scattered by noise. Silence trains you to guard your energy and your attention like treasures because they are the foundation of every great achievement. Silence is also discipline when it comes to emotions. Anyone can explode in anger. Anyone can throw words carelessly when they are frustrated. Anyone can let pride control them in a moment of conflict. But the disciplined person holds back. They stay silent not because they lack the words, but because they choose not to give away their power. To stay calm when disrespected, to stay quiet when provoked, to stay composed when emotions rise. This is not weakness, it is supreme strength. It is the discipline of controlling the self, which is far more difficult than controlling anyone else. There is also discipline in being silent about your goals and your progress. Too many people speak about what they want to do, but discipline is keeping those goals close to your chest and working on them quietly. Silence protects your vision from negativity, jealousy, and doubt. It keeps your energy concentrated on building rather than talking. The disciplined do not waste time broadcasting their every move. They understand that the louder you speak, the more room you give others to interfere. Silence keeps the process pure, and discipline ensures that process is followed through without distraction. Ultimately, discipline in silence is about strength or restraint. It is about controlling what you can control, your tongue, your reactions, your focus, your emotions. It is about understanding that the loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. The one who controls themselves is always in control of the room, even without speaking. Silence is the invisible shield that discipline builds around you. It keeps you steady in chaos, patient in struggle, and focused on what truly matters. The discipline know that silence is not emptiness, it is fullness contained, waiting for the right moment to be released. Growth happens quietly, in the spaces no one sees, in the hours when the lights are off and the crowd is gone. It doesn't announce itself with noise or demand recognition with words. Growth is silent because it is built through consistency, patience, and discipline when nobody is watching. Just like a seed planted in the soil, the process of becoming something great happens in darkness, hidden beneath the surface. The roots push down before the stem rises up, and that hidden struggle creates the strength to break through the ground. The same is true for people. Your real growth is forged in private, in the silence where you keep showing up day after day without needing applause. The world loves results, but it rarely celebrates the process. Everyone claps when the flower blooms, but no one notices the long, unseen work of the roots. In life, it is easy to crave the spotlight, to want recognition before the work is finished. But real growth requires that you stay comfortable with being invisible. You must be willing to work in the shadows, to grind when nobody believes in you, to keep pushing even when there is no immediate reward. That is the kind of growth that lasts. Because it is not built on noise, it is built on silence, and silence is unshakable. Quiet growth teaches you patience, and patience teaches you strength. When you don't see instant results, it forces you to trust the process. You learn that just because you can't see progress doesn't mean it isn't happening. The roots of a tree grow deeper long before the branches spread wide. Every rep, every late night, every early morning, every choice to keep going instead of quitting is growth, even if the outside world cannot see it. That hidden work is what builds your foundation. Without that foundation, any success you achieve will crumble. But when your growth is built in silence, it is solid, it is steady, and nothing can break it. Growth in silence also protects you. When you talk too much about your goals, when you expose your process too early, you invite doubt, judgment, The quiet protects your energy. It gives you room to experiment, to fail, to learn without the pressure of constant eyes watching your every move. In silence, you can make mistakes that strengthen you without being torn apart by criticism. You can adjust, refine, and improve until your results are undeniable. Then, when you finally step into the light, people will see only the strength you have built, not the countless struggles you endured in private. Another truth about growth is that it is not dramatic. It doesn't come with sudden explosions or overnight transformations. Real growth is slow, steady, and almost unnoticeable in the moment. You wake up day after day, you put in the work, and nothing seems different. But months later, you look back and realize how far you've come. That is the power of quiet growth. It sneaks up on you, building piece by piece until the person you are today is unrecognizable compared to the person you used to be. But it only happens if you are willing to stay consistent when there is no reward, no validation, no applause. Silence is also the environment where self-reflection happens, and reflection is where growth deepens. When you are quiet, you hear your own thoughts. You see your weaknesses, you face your fears. You become aware of what needs to be improved. That awareness allows you to make changes that the noisy, distracted world would never give you space to make. Growth doesn't happen in the middle of chaos. It happens when you step back, stay silent, and do the inner work. That inner growth is the hardest because it requires honesty with yourself, but it is also the most powerful because it transforms who you are at the core. The silence of growth also demands resilience, because you are not getting attention, because you are not being celebrated, because your effort seems invisible. The temptation to quit is strong, but resilience is built when you choose to keep going anyway. Every day that you work in silence strengthens not just your skills, but your character. You learn to depend on discipline instead of motivation. You learn to love the process instead of chasing quick rewards. That resilience makes you unbreakable because once you've grown in silence, nothing external can control your journey anymore. People often confuse growth with recognition, but they are not the same. Recognition is what others give you. Growth is what you give yourself. Recognition is temporary, but growth is permanent. If you chase recognition, you may cut corners, you may quit when it gets hard, you may crave validation more than progress. But if you commit to growth in silence, you will outlast the ones who only chase applause. You will be the one still standing when the noise fades, because your foundation is built on work, not on words. Growth happens quietly because silence is honest. Silence doesn't care about what looks good on the outside. It only cares about what is being built on the inside. That is why the most powerful transformations are the ones no one sees until the results make it impossible to ignore. The quiet nights, the unseen sacrifices, the lonely hours, the countless repetitions, all of that builds a strength that cannot be faked. And when the time is right, that quiet growth reveals itself naturally without you having to force it. Clarity is something most people crave but very few achieve, because the world is built on noise. Everywhere you look, there are voices demanding attention, distractions pulling your focus, and pressures telling you what you should do, who you should be, and how you should live. In this chaos, it becomes almost impossible to hear your own thoughts. That is why silence is powerful. Silence cuts through the noise and gives you clarity. It gives you the space to breathe, to think, to see things for what they truly are. Without silence, your mind is cluttered with too many voices. With silence, the fog clears and the truth becomes visible. When you stay silent, you are not just removing words, you are removing interference. You are taking away the pressure to respond, the urge to react, and the temptation to explain yourself. That quiet gives your mind room to process. It allows you to step back from the storm of opinions and emotions, and in that space, clarity is born. You begin to see what really matters, what is worth your time, and what is only distraction. Silence is like sharpening a blade. Without it, your thoughts are dull, scattered, and unfocused. With it, your focus becomes sharp, precise, and ready to cut through any obstacle. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want, it is about knowing what you don't need. Most people fill their lives with unnecessary noise, chasing approval, chasing validation, chasing things that don't align with their true path. Silence reveals the difference. It strips away the illusions and exposes what is essential. In silence, you start to ask yourself the questions that matter. Who am I? What am I working toward? What am I willing to sacrifice? What is holding me back? These questions cannot be answered in noise. They require space, honesty, and reflection. Silence creates that space. In silence, emotions settle. Anger fades, fear quiets, and doubt loses its grip. When you react too quickly, you are reacting from noise, your emotion, your impulses, the voices around you. But when you sit in silence, you give yourself the gift of perspective. You see the situation as it is, not as your emotions distort. That perspective brings clarity. You stop wasting energy fighting battles that don't matter. You stop chasing goals that aren't yours. You stop letting other people's opinions decide your path. Silence gives you back control, because with clarity comes direction. Clarity also strengthens decision-making. A person lost in noise makes choices out of pressure. They move too fast, they commit without thinking. They follow the crowd because they cannot hear their own voice. But a person who embraces silence waits. They let the noise pass, they let their mind clear, and then they make decisions with calm, with precision, with confidence. This kind of clarity in decision-making is what separates leaders from followers, creators from imitators, winners from quitters. Because when your mind is clear, you no longer hesitate, you no longer doubt, you move with certainty, and certainty is magnetic. Silence gives you the ability to listen deeply. And deep listening brings clarity that shallow noise can never offer. When you stop talking, when you stop filling space with your own voice, you begin to truly hear others. You notice the pauses in their words, the emotions in their tone, the truth behind what is said and what is left unsaid. This deeper listening gives you insights that others miss. It helps you understand people better, situations better, and yourself better. In that understanding, clarity blossoms, because you are no longer blinded by assumptions or distracted by surface-level noise. Clarity through silence also teaches you alignment. So many people are living lives that are not theirs, chasing dreams that belong to someone else. following paths that society laid out for them. They are lost not because they are incapable, but because they have never taken the time to sit in silence and ask themselves if the life they are living is truly their own. In silence, you discover whether your actions match your values, whether your goals align with your heart, and whether your daily grind is leading you to the future you want. That alignment is impossible to find in constant noise. It is only found in the stillness of silence. The power of clarity is that it removes doubt. Doubt thrives in noise because noise multiplies confusion. The more voices you hear, the harder it becomes to trust yourself. But silence pulls you back to your center. It reminds you that you already have the answers, that deep down you already know what you need to do. Clarity is not something given to you by the world. It is something revealed within yourself when the world is quiet. That revelation makes you stronger because once you have clarity, no opinion, no distraction, no obstacle can shake you. Silence is not emptiness. It is the purest environment for clarity to grow. In silence, you see reality without distortion. You hear your own voice without interference, and you understand your path without confusion. That is why silence is powerful, because clarity is freedom, and silence is the doorway to it. Letting action speak louder than words is one of the most powerful principles you can live by, because in a world where everyone talks, promises, and trains to prove themselves with noise, action becomes the rarest and purest form of truth. Words are easy. Anyone can say they will change. Anyone can say they will work harder. Anyone can say they will achieve greatness. But words without action are empty. They vanish the moment they are spoken. Actions, however, cannot be faked. They are visible, measurable, undeniable. They are the real language of discipline, commitment, and success. When you choose to let your actions speak, you shift your energy away from performance and into execution. You stop wasting time telling people what you are going to do, and you start using that time to actually do it. This creates momentum because every small action builds on the last, creating results that no explanation or excuse could ever replace. People may doubt your words, they may ignore your promises, but they cannot deny your results. Results cut through noise like a blade through paper. They silence critics, they inspire believers, and they prove everything without you having to say a single word. The truth is, words are cheap because they cost nothing. They do not demand sacrifice. They do not demand sweat. They do not demand pain. Actions, on the other hand, require everything. They require waking up early, pushing through exhaustion, facing failure, and showing up when you least feel like it. That is why actions are so powerful, because they represent choices that cost something. Every action you take toward your goal is proof that you're willing to pay the price, proof that you are serious, proof that you are not just another dreamer who speaks loudly but moves slowly. When you let actions speak louder than words, you also protect your energy. Talking about what you will do often gives you a false sense of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into believing you have already taken a step when in reality you haven't moved at all. By staying silent and acting instead, you keep yourself hungry, you keep yourself focused. You don't waste energy convincing others, you invest energy building yourself. This discipline separates you from the majority, because most people would rather talk about what they want than endure the silence of doing the work. Actions also build credibility. In life, trust is not built through promises, it is built through consistency. When people see you showing up, day after day, doing what you said you would do without needing to broadcast it, they begin to believe in you, not because of your words, but because of your proof. That credibility cannot be taken away because it is rooted in real action, not in appearances. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget what you did. Another strength of letting action speak is that it silences doubt, not just from others, but from yourself. Self-doubt thrives in inaction. The longer you wait, the more you talk without moving, the heavier doubt becomes. But action kills doubt. Every step you take, no matter how small, proves to yourself that you are capable. That proof builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. Eventually, your actions become so consistent that you no longer need to convince yourself or anyone else. Your work becomes the loudest voice in the room. There is also a deeper humility in choosing action over words. When you act without needing to announce it, you show that you do not need validation. You are not working for applause, you are working for mastery. This humility gives you strength because it keeps you grounded. You are not distracted by the need to be seen, you are focused on becoming undeniable. And when the time comes, when your actions finally reveal the results of your work, the impact is 10 times stronger because nobody saw it coming. The silence of your journey makes the noise of your results even louder. Actions also speak across time. Words fade quickly, but the results of consistent action leave a legacy. The buildings we see, the art we admire, the victories we remember, none of them were built on promises, they were built on action. Long after words are forgotten, actions remain. They become proof of what is possible, proof of what discipline and focus can create. That is why choosing action is more powerful than anything you could ever say. You are not just building for today, you are building something that speaks for you even when you are no longer present. Most importantly, when you let actions speak louder, you free yourself from the need to argue. You no longer care to prove your worth with explanations or defenses. You let your work answer every question. You let your dedication crush every doubt. You let your results silence every critic. This gives you peace because you no longer live for the approval of others. You live for the truth of your effort, and that truth is always louder than noise. Words can be forgotten, twisted, or ignored. Actions cannot. They carry weight because they are backed by sacrifice. They demand respect because they represent commitment. They inspire because they show what is possible when discipline replaces noise. That is why letting actions speak louder than words is not just a principle. It is a way of life, a mindset that builds unshakable strength. Trusting the process is one of the hardest lessons to learn because it demands patience in a world that glorifies speed and demands faith in a world that constantly tempts you with doubt. It is easy to want results now, to crave success immediately, to feel frustrated when your work does not pay off as quickly as you expect. But real growth, real success, real mastery does not happen overnight. It happens over time through repetition, through discipline, through countless days of effort where nothing seems to be changing. The process is not glamorous, it is not exciting, it is not loud, it is quiet, consistent, and often invisible. That is why so many people quit before they ever see the results of their work. They do not trust the process long enough for it to reward them. When you trust the process, you accept that progress is not always visible. You may be working for weeks, months, even years without the recognition of the results you hope for. But every moment of effort is building something beneath the surface. Just like a tree takes years of growing roots before it rises strong and tall, your work is building a foundation long before the world can see it. Trusting the process means believing that your effort is never wasted, even when it feels invisible. It means understanding that every repetition, every small step, every sacrifice is moving you closer, even if the progress is too small to notice in the moment. The process is not supposed to be easy. It is designed to test you, to break you down, to see how much you truly want what you are chasing. Most people quit not because they lack talent, because they lack patience. They cannot handle the waiting, the silence, the slow climb. But the few who trust the process, who keep going when nothing is happening, those are the ones who eventually see everything fall into place. Trusting the process means being willing to suffer without immediate reward, because you know the reward is not supposed to come now. It is supposed to come when you are ready to handle it. Trusting the process also requires letting go of control. You cannot force timing, you cannot rush results, you cannot bend reality to your impatience. All you can do is put in the work, stay disciplined, and allow the process to unfold as it should. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength, because it means you are confident enough to know that your time will come. People who do not trust the process try to force shortcuts. They chase quick wins, they cut corners, they want the reward without the work, but shortcuts always fail, because what is built fast falls apart even faster. Trusting the process ensures that what you are building will last, because it is built on effort, patience, and discipline. Another part of trusting the process is understanding that setbacks are not failures, they are lessons. Every obstacle, every mistake, every disappointment is shaping you. It is refining your character, sharpening your skills, toughening your mind. Without setbacks, you cannot grow. Without failure, you cannot learn. The process is not just about achieving a goal. It is about becoming the person capable of living at that level. If the process feels heavy, it is because it is building strength. If it feels slow, it is because it is teaching patience. If it feels painful, it is because it is breaking down the weak parts of you to rebuild something stronger. Trusting the process means embracing this pain instead of resisting it, knowing that it is part of your transformation. The process also protects you from arrogance. If success came too quickly, you would not appreciate it, you would not value it, and you would not know how to sustain it. The grind, the waiting, the sacrifices, those are what make you humble. They remind you that nothing worth having comes easy, and they teach you to respect the journey. By trusting the process, you build not just success, but wisdom. You learn to respect the time it takes, the effort it demands, and the discipline it requires. That wisdom ensures that when success finally comes, you are ready to handle it, not just enjoy it. Trusting the process is also about faith in yourself. It means believing that your preparation, your discipline, your consistency will eventually pay off. It means not letting doubt control you, even when you feel stuck, even when you feel invisible, even when you wonder if it's worth it. Faith is not about seeing the destination clearly. It is about walking toward it even when it feels far away. Every step, every action, every day you stay consistent is proof of that faith. And eventually that faith is rewarded, because the process never fails those who stay true to it. In the end, trusting the process is about understanding that life unfolds naturally when you combine patience with persistence. You cannot predict every turn, you cannot control every outcome, but you can control how you show up every single day. The process takes care of the rest. If you stay silent, if you stay consistent, if you stay committed, everything you are working for will come when the time is right. The process is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally, because it is shaping you into the person you need to be for the future you are building. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is strength, it is clarity, it is discipline, and it is the foundation of everything great. When you stay silent, you listen more, you grow quietly, you let your actions prove your worth, and you learn to trust the process without fear or doubt. The world will always try to pull you into its noise, but your power lies in restraint, in patience, and in the calm confidence that everything will come naturally if you stay consistent and true to your path. Greatness doesn't shout. Greatness doesn't beg for attention. Greatness builds itself in silence until the day it becomes undeniable. So walk your path with discipline, protect your vision in silence, let your actions speak for you, and trust that everything you are working for is already on its way. Your moment will come, and when it does, it will come naturally, just as it was meant to. I wish you strength, patience, and relentless focus as you continue your journey. Good luck to you. May your silence turn into success, and may your actions speak louder than anything you could ever say. Thank you.